Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibis, welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Really good to have you here on this Friday. It's the weekend. We made it, y'all. Hope you have something planned. Maybe you're going to chill. I think I'm going to clean my house. It's just one of those deep cleaning weekends. I feel it in my bones. Of course, it could be the 12-hour sleep I got last night. Man, Sarah Rose and I went to Grammy's to have dinner, came home, took a shower, and I thought, I'm just going to go lay under my warm covers and warm up a bit and chill out. I woke up a couple of times that I barely remember, but slept a solid 12. Y'all, I have had energy oozing today. I've been doing a lot of research, working on the Ellen Greenberg case. Hope to have another episode of that out next week. It's just we've had some things happening in cases we cover. I like to keep those really current. Just been working hard in those documents and trying to put everything into a little bit of a timeline to keep it fluid and things like that. Thank you guys for sharing that video. You know, it's one of those cases that really strikes you when you hear it. And I have a lot of listeners who really didn't know the facts and have inboxed me how horrified they are. And yeah, you can't explain. And it's really unbelievable once you dive into the documents, how this investigation or lack thereof allowed this finding to happen. So looking forward to jumping back into that and bringing awareness. I also want to do another episode on TaForest Johnson. He has been on Alabama's death row for 24 years for a crime really I think he didn't commit. I mean, there were 10 eyewitnesses that said he was on the opposite side of town when the off-duty police officer was shot and killed. And then he was convicted on a woman's statement. The woman, by the way, was paid $5,000 for her testimony because she overheard a conversation her daughter was having with somebody who was in jail, and a man she thought to be TaForest admitted to killing this officer. That's what convicted him. There are jurors who are speaking out. There are prosecutors. There are all kinds of people saying an innocent man could be on death row. The Supreme Court just denied him. And I think this is something that we have to get loud about. When you have a case with this much reasonable doubt, there was zero forensics. You can't put people to death on a woman who kind of has been discredited. And when you find out that the defense did not know for 2 decades, this woman was paid, it's crazy. It's bananas. And I think he at least should be granted a new trial, because I'm going to tell you what I know about the facts of the case. There are no facts of the case. I don't think this would go very far at all in a new trial. To have somebody on death row just to have somebody on death row, it's not justice. You want to find the real killer. And I just feel like this is a shoddy case and a man's life is on the line. He has always maintained his innocence. When you got 10 people saying he was elsewhere, big red flag, and no forensics, and also the exchange of money. I really want to do something next week for TaForest Johnson's case, because we need to be writing these officials. We need to be tweeting them and not in a harassing way, but just why won't you grant this man a new trial before you put him to death? What is the harm in that? You know, when jurors say we convicted an innocent man, that speaks volumes. A verdict they thought was right at the time, over time has proven to be a very shaky case. And now this man's condemned to die. What actual facts they had against him? It sounds like none. Music fact of the day, Joe Walsh and Ringo Starr. They've been friends since the 60s. They've collaborated on a lot of projects over the decades. I didn't know this. They're also brothers-in-law. Joe Walsh married Ringo Starr's wife's sister. Can you imagine? Holidays and family gatherings with Joe Walsh and Ringo Starr there. All right, moving on. We're going to jump into Richard Allen, the suspect in the Delphi murders of Abby Williams and Libby German. Big deal yesterday, y'all. Yesterday was actually the first time cameras were going to be allowed in the courtroom. There was going to be a 30-minute delay, but then the actual hearing was delayed by a significant amount of time. When the judge came in and the hearing started, it lasted maybe 3 minutes. And what happened? Richard Allen's attorneys withdrew from the case, both of them. Special Judge Fran Gull, when she started her remarks, she said, "We have had an unexpected turn of events." Baldwin made an oral motion to be dismissed, and defense attorney Rozzi is expected to submit his request in writing in the next couple of days. The defense is to hand over all discovery in the case, and they're also expected to cooperate with whoever is appointed to Richard Allen as his new defense team. The judge yesterday ordered Richard Allen to go back into the Department of Corrections since there was no hearing. Now, they didn't specifically say the reason for the withdrawals, but a lot of speculation is that it's due to the gruesome crime scene photos that were leaked from Andrew Baldwin Baldwin's office by someone he knew and said he trusted. These photos were sent out to several people. Now, the Murder Sheet hosts Kevin Greenlee and Anya Kane, they were contacted by a source of theirs who had received the photos and was very shaken up by what he saw. Together, the three of them decided to notify authorities as well as the state and the defense after receiving these images. Thank goodness for honest podcasters who do that and don't plaster that stuff out there. You don't want the family of these girls to click on something one day and come across these photos. Kevin Greenland told Ashley Banfield last night that the crime scene photos were graphic, they were disturbing, and, in his opinion, authentic. Anya said she wished she hadn't seen them and nobody should see them except for the jury, the legal teams, and the experts. Kevin said after seeing the communications between the middleman and their source, this leak, just in speculation, could have been to support the defense's theory of the ties to Odinism. And as you know, the defense recently filed this over 100-page motion where they outline why they think this is a ritualistic killing with ties to the pagan religion. I'm curious if the new defense is going to pick this strategy back up. Filing, they said members of a pagan Norse religion called Odinism, hijacked by white nationalists, ritualistically sacrificed Abby Williams and Libby German. A lot of people have asked what I thought about the leak of the crime scene photos, as well as his attorneys withdrawing from the case. There's a gag order in this case, and the crime scene photos were sealed. So it's a huge problem because whoever Richard Allen's new defense attorneys are, you can take it to the bank that they're going to say it's going to be impossible for him to get a fair trial, because what if a potential juror saw these graphic crime scene photos and formed an opinion before they're even sent a jury summons? I really do think that this is going to be a big, big deal once all the dust settles from the defense attorneys withdrawing and then you get new counsel. It's interesting also because defense attorney Baldwin had hired criminal defense attorney David Hennessy to represent him, and he was expected to fight being thrown off the case. The judge said that she would reach out to public defenders and appoint Richard Allen new counsel. She said there is a hearing set for October 31st, and she would like to maintain that. She also said they're going to have to set a new trial date, as counsel obviously is not going to be prepared coming in brand new to this in a case of this magnitude by January 8th, which was the trial date that was set before. She also needs to set a date for the suppression hearing that was requested by his now former attorneys. Matt Johnson from Court TV was inside the courtroom yesterday and said that Richard Allen's wife was in tears pretty much the entire time while in the courtroom. I believe she left before the hearing started. Richard Allen's mother was there as well. And he said while the families of Abby and Libby are under a gag order, they looked very disappointed while leaving. And I can't imagine. You've waited years for an arrest. We have a trial date set, and now this happens. And I'm sure in their minds, they're probably thinking, what's going to happen? What's going to be the end result of this? The attorney that Andrew Baldwin hired, David Hennessy, said in a statement yesterday that authorities are investigating 3 suspects who betrayed Baldwin and gained access to the sensitive materials. He also said that Baldwin didn't quit, but withdrew under coercive circumstances, saying in the filing they dedicated their lives to an innocent client and had developed a strong and trusting bond. I think the word coercive, if you look at the definition of coercive, it's relating to or using of force or threats. In that statement, is he indicating they were threatened if they didn't withdraw? I just think it's very odd that he recently had hired this criminal defense attorney to fight being thrown off the case, and then he withdrew. Strange things going on, and I don't think we know really the half of it publicly. It also says disqualification of either of his court-appointed attorneys would greatly prejudice his right to counsel and a timely trial. Disqualification of counsel is an extreme remedy for any alleged or perceived violation of a court's order. Most, if not all, cases concerning disqualification of counsel involve conflicts of interest. The issue before the court is a horrible tragedy created by persons not related to the defense of Mr. Allen. There were 3 people, one of whom committed suicide after the law enforcement investigation began. It should be considered that nothing has been disclosed that won't be disclosed at trial or hearings. Your guess is as good as mine, y'all. I think this is going to heat up really quickly once he gets new counsel and they kind of get settled in. I'll keep you posted. I'm set up for alerts for anything about this case, but man, just a series of very unfortunate events. I mean, these are sealed photos. It's not a good thing. And I don't think crime scene photos like this should ever be for public consumption. These are two girls who did not ask to be murdered the day that they just went out for a little walk on a bridge. Hopefully, the legal teams are reaching out to anybody who may have posted this and sending them a nice threatening letter to take that down. Moving on to Shanna Gardner-Fernandez. We know she's facing first-degree murder charges, conspiracy to commit murder, solicitation to commit a capital felony, and child abuse related to the murder of her ex-husband, Jared Bradigan, that happened in 2022 in Florida. Bradigan was killed in front of his very young daughter in Jacksonville Beach. He had been to see twins that he shared with Shanna. They had a Wednesday date night every week. If the opposite parent had them, there was a tire that was placed in the road as a ruse to get him out of the car, which worked, and he was shot to death. Her husband, Mario Fernandez, and co-conspirator Henry Teenan had been arrested before her. Henry Teenan has pled guilty to second-degree murder and will testify against Mario, and I'm assuming that's going to be the same for Shanna. She was said to be in a custody dispute with her ex, but she will be extradited in the next few weeks, according to David Chapman, who is with the 4th Judicial Circuit State Attorney's Office in Florida. She was arrested in Washington State just recently. The governors of Washington State and Florida have signed the extradition warrants. Some of the body cam footage and interrogation footage has been released from Henry, showing how law enforcement told him initially when he was pulled over that he was being brought in on a habitual traffic offender status. What they actually did was take him to the state attorney's office and showed him photos of his car that was captured on plate reader cameras around the Jacksonville area before the murder. They tell him later that today is the most important day of his life, and they say they're going to shoot straight. Then that audio is redacted. And when it comes back, Henry says, there's nothing else I can give you. I think I need an attorney. But we know he is cooperating. She should be headed back to Florida for these charges. And we're going to be following that one too. Moving on to Bryan Kohberger. His aunt has spoken out to the U.S. Sun. She did not use her name, but she lives in the Las Vegas area. And apparently a lot of Bryan's family on his dad's side live in the Las Vegas area as well. They spoke to the publication calling the case against him surreal. The aunt has not seen Bryan in 5 years before his arrest. She said there had been a lot of drama in the family, but she couldn't talk about it due to legal reasons. She also has not spoken to Bryan's parents since his arrest, but has been told that they're devastated and their worlds have been turned upside down. She also added they are a very religious Christian couple. Some of his relatives say he was an odd character and reclusive when he was growing up, but he never showed any signs of violence, and they were stunned when he was arrested for the murders of Xana, Maddie, Kaylee, and Ethan. By the way, that first-year anniversary of these beautiful souls being taken is coming up sooner than later, I'm sure. It's going to be so hard for these families when that first anniversary rolls around. It seems like when you lose somebody, and I'm talking in a normal sense, not even to a horrific murder, the first Christmas, the first birthday, the first major anniversaries just are hard. And I can't imagine that 1 year of the murders rolling around. Bryan's aunt said she was lost for words, stunned, and heartbroken. She said she could not listen to the details of what happened to Xana, Maddie, Kaylee, and Ethan that night. When she did hear some of the details, she had goosebumps and she cried. She says she struggles to watch the news as more information trickles out. She said her heart goes out to the victims' families, but she said Bryan is not well and had battled mental health problems for years. She said that she would fly the family out to Las Vegas when Bryan was growing up, and she was really excited to show him the city. He preferred to stay home. She described him as shy and as a troubled teenager. She suspected he may have been on drugs and maybe had some addiction issues. She said he suffers from depressive episodes and said she was told that he was being medicated. She also said, to me, he was humble and quiet. I didn't see any violence in him, but if you're not on the right medication, you can be triggered. I think he may have snapped. She said, I don't have an answer for why he was depressed. I guarantee he had a wonderful childhood. Michael, his dad, is a wonderful man. He was a janitor and his wife is a beautiful woman. She's a teacher and they worked at the same school. She said, if Bryan is found guilty, she thinks he may try to harm himself. And she says she doesn't know if she would watch the trial, even if it is live streamed, but she at the same time would like some answers about the murders. In her opinion, she thinks there's a good chance he's going to be found guilty and she just wants the truth, saying she would like to see Bryan in person or write him and find out what happened. The link to the article with her is in the description of the episode here, so you can check that out on your own, as well as the Ashley Banfield clip from last night with the host of the Murder Sheet podcast. Moving on to Keefe D. We know he's in custody for the murder of Tupac Shakur, which happened on September 7th, 1996. That was after a Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. As you know, Tupac and Suge Knight beat up his nephew, Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, after that fight, and that's believed to be what led to Tupac being murdered. In Keefe D's memoir, which I have a copy of, it was given to me or loaned to me by somebody who had it way before all this, he said he got the gun used to kill Tupac and said when they pulled up, it appeared that Tupac was going for his gun. So somebody in their car started firing. He also confessed to hiding the gun as well as hiding that Cadillac that was driven in the drive-by. They had it repaired and repainted before turning it back into the rental company in LA. He also said in the book that Tupac deserved to die. Investigators have previously said that Keefe D talked himself into jail between his book and media appearances where he freely talked about this stuff. Yesterday was a second try at his arraignment, but it was postponed again. The attorney that was representing him yesterday said that he could not assert that he would be his lawyer and that they needed 2 more weeks to figure it out. That's been reset for November 2nd. Judge Jones said they need to keep the case moving, and if Keefe D does not have counsel soon, she's just going to appoint him a public defender. The Nevada attorney who was there yesterday on his behalf, his name is Ross Goodman, said he has not been confirmed as counsel yet, but spoke on behalf of Keefe D yesterday, saying that he will plead not guilty on November the 2nd. He said, you have to have something other than somebody's statement to establish that that person is guilty of the killing. When asked if he thought Keefe D had a strong defense, he said it would be irresponsible for me to make those comments, but based on my quick review of the grand jury transcripts, it's a circumstantial case along with his statements, but you have to corroborate what somebody says. There has to be some circumstantial evidence to support what somebody is saying. Otherwise, you could say you shot Tupac. I understand that a lot of people are taking credit for shooting Tupac and they're not charged with murder. You have to have something other than somebody's statement to establish that that person is guilty of the killing or the murder. He said one thing that jumps out, there is no gun, no car, and no witnesses from 27 years ago. Remember, the only living witnesses from that night are Keefe D and Suge Knight. Everybody else that was in that car with Keefe D, they're dead. Also, Suge Knight at this point is unwilling to give any kind of a statement or cooperate with investigators. He's serving a 20-plus year sentence, and he probably just doesn't want to be seen as a snitch in prison. Doesn't matter who you are. You don't want to be labeled a snitch. That's for sure. Ross Goodman also said that Keefe D is planning to ask for bail as the case makes its way to trial. He said that Keefe D's spirits were fine given the conditions he is under right now. He said, as we know, he's been in custody since he got arrested at his house. Now, if found guilty, Keefe D faces 20 to life. Moving on to a very tragic and sad case. Circuit Court judge from Washington County, Maryland, Andrew Wilson, 52 years old, was shot and killed last night in the driveway of his home in Hagerstown, Maryland, in what police are calling a targeted attack. Deputies responded around 8 p.m. Judge Wilkinson's wife and son were inside the home at the time of the shooting. This sent law enforcement rushing to the homes of other judges to make sure they were protected. But this morning, they realized there is no threat to other judges in the area. And also today, a suspect has been named in that. The suspect, 49-year-old Pedro Argote. Now, his divorce case was before Judge Wilkinson yesterday. Pedro did not attend that hearing, and that case was the only one on Judge Wilkinson's docket yesterday. Judge Wilkinson had signed an order for no contact or visitation between Pedro and his children and their mother. She has full custody of the children, and Judge Wilkinson also ruled the mother would have sole use and possession of the family home, and also that Pedro was not to enter that property. He was also ordered to pay child support in the amount of $1,120 a month. They do have 4 minor children that they share. He may be driving a silver 2009 Mercedes with Maryland registration plates 4EH040. 2008. This car, by the way, had been ordered by Judge Wilkinson to be made available to the mother of his children upon reasonable request to attend necessary shopping or medical or dental trips for both her and the children. In a statement by the Maryland Judiciary, it says the Maryland Judiciary is mourning the tragic death of Judge Andrew Wilkinson. As we grieve his loss, we ask you keep the Wilkinson family in your prayers and please respect their privacy. The Maryland Judiciary is actively engaging with law enforcement to assist in resolving this matter and to ensure the safety of our judges, staff, and visitors, which remains our top priority. Judge Wilkinson took the bench on January 10th, 2020. Before that, he attended UNC and Emory University School of Law. He was a private attorney and was experienced in real estate, zoning, family law, and civil litigation. Cannot imagine. And it's just sad that you have a judge who clearly made the right call in not allowing any contact. You see what he was capable of, and this judge was killed for that. Thinking about his family, that has to be beyond all comprehension to have heard and probably run out and see what they saw. Moving on to Kaitlin Armstrong. She's accused of killing pro cyclist Mo Wilson in a jealous rage, then fleeing to Costa Rica, where she got a facelift and evaded capture for over a month. There's a new filing in the case laying out what the state intends to bring into her trial that is set to begin on October 30th. But let's go through what this is. It's the state's notice of intent to introduce evidence of extraneous conduct. It says they are giving notice to the court and the defendant that the state intends to introduce the following evidence during the guilt and punishment phases of the trial in accordance with Texas Rules of Criminal Evidence. On or about March 6, 2018 in Travis County, Texas, the defendant committed the offense of theft of service. A warrant was issued for her arrest on April 12, 2018. Number 2, on or about October 28, 2021 in Travis County, the defendant placed a telephone call to Mo Wilson asserting that the defendant was the girlfriend of Colin Strickland and that Mo Wilson needed to stay away from the said Colin Strickland. Number 3, on or about October 28, 2021 in Travis County, Texas, the defendant stated that if Colin Strickland engaged in a serious romantic relationship with another woman, the defendant would kill that person. That was witnessed by somebody named Nicole. The defendant on another occasion also stated to Nicole that the defendant had access to and could read text messages sent to Colin on his text and email accounts in Travis County, Texas. Number 4, on or about January 30th, 2022 in Benton County, Arkansas, the defendant stated her desire to kill and or cause the death of Mo Wilson as witnessed by Jacqueline. Number 5, on or about May 7th, 2022 in Presidio, Texas, the defendant did then and there influence and persuade by asserting her status as the girlfriend of Colin Strickland, somebody named Andrew, to change the race registration of the said defendant from a longer to a shorter race in a bicycle race while the race was ongoing. Dear Lord in heaven, this girl. On or about May 12th, 2022 in Travis County, Texas, the defendant sold her 2012 Jeep for funds in order to facilitate her flight from prosecution as witnessed by someone named Keith. Number 7, on or about May 18th, 2022 in Essex County, New Jersey, the defendant used the passport of another, Christine Armstrong, that's her sister, in order to leave the U.S. and enter Costa Rica. Number 8, from May 12th through May 18th, 2022, the defendant fled Austin, Texas for Houston, Texas, and then the state of New York, and then from the U.S. to Costa Rica in order to avoid arrest and prosecution for murder. Number 9, on or about June 23rd, 2022 in Costa Rica, the defendant assumed a false identity and the identity of another, Allison Page, and under that identity did procure cosmetic surgery procedures in order to assist in her flight from arrest and prosecution for the offense of murder. Number 10, on or about October 11th, 2023 in Travis County, the defendant claimed injury to her ankle in order to secure a trip from the jail to an orthopedic clinic and then escaped from custody by running from the officers escorting her and did then and there commit the offense of escape from custody with bodily injury to the 2 officers. That girl is a hot mess express, y'all. She's pretty brazen. I mean, she fled to Costa Rica, got away for over a month, and then comes back and works out for a while, fakes an injury, and then takes off. She ain't afraid to take bold steps for sure. But in the end, They always get caught. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'm planning on doing another Missing Person episode this weekend. That should be out at some point kind of later on Sunday. So until then, hope you guys have a good start to your weekend. We'll see you soon.